Leave it to Gilbert Arenas to make Steph Curry uncomfortable. They have a whole interview, but he asked this question last because he knows it'll be awkward.
Are you the best point guard ever?
He doesn't even want to answer. He knows people get upset no matter what he says. Magic has 5 rings, 3 finals MVPs in only 13 seasons. But if he says Magic, people will clown Steph for not having self-belief. It's a lose-lose. So does he have the guts to actually answer the question?
Yes. Yes.
So awkward. Just like staring at each other. Because that's not who Steph is. He's not the boasting type. Draymond does that. But of course, people slam Steph. No, sir, Magic is. You're a great shooter. That's it, not the leader Magic is. Dre is a much better point guard than Steph is. You can't be in that discussion averaging 6 assists per game. Top 5 guard all time, sure. Top 5? People don't want to respect Curry like that till he retires. But really? Steph is already the GOAT point guard. I'm not the only one saying it. There are legends who agree. We'll look at those people, but everyone brings up resume. Magic's got 5 rings to Steph's 4. Magic 12 All-Stars, Steph 9. Magic 3 MVPs to Steph's 2. Magic 3 Finals MVPs to Steph's 1. Of course, Magic retired at age 31 because of HIV. But how much more could have Magic done if he was healthy? The problem with that argument is it goes the same way with Steph. How much more could Steph have done? If Kevin Durant doesn't tear his Achilles, they beat Toronto and he's got 5 rings. If Steph and Klay don't get injured, do they win in the bubble? I mean, the Lakers won in 2020. You're telling me Golden State doesn't have a chance? What about in 2021 when the Suns made it out of the West? Steph proved he can win without KD, did it before Durant and after. The problem with the what if game is it applies to everyone. So Magic doesn't have that in his corner. But first, I went on vacation and you didn't even know it. I went to Maine, of all places. Great spot for hiking. I just don't recommend carrying a baby the entire time. Kind of exhausting. But that vacay only happened after saving up money, which is what Chime does best. With Chime, you get fee-free overdraft up to $200. You get paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Chime has no monthly fees or a minimum balance, and that stuff really adds up. Plus, over 60,000 fee-free ATMs. That's more than the top 3 national banks combined. So sign up for Chime today and make this summer the best one yet for yourself and your wallet. Get started at chime.com/amhoops. That is chime.com/amhoops. I'm supposed to say this next part legally, so let's see if I can get it in just one try. Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and credit card provided by The Bancorp Bank, N.A. or Stride Bank, N.A., members FDIC. Eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Access to direct deposits up to 2 days early depends on the timing of the submission of the payment file from the payer. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. Maine was cool though. The other argument is Steph isn't a real point guard. People look at his relative low assists and how Draymond play makes and say Steph is a shooting guard. That is old school thinking. Early in the NBA, point guards were pass first who orchestrated the offense, but Steph sets his teammates up in a different way. Ben Taylor is the smartest NBA YouTuber, and he has a series called Greatest Peaks. Ben analyzes players' games, and at the end, he ranks them into categories. Steph dominates Magic in scoring rate and shooting efficiency. No surprise there. Of course, Magic wins passer rating, the best ever. But then there's something called creation. How well does the player create offense? Magic in the 98th percentile. Steph also 98th percentile. He creates just as much offense for his team without passing the ball. Defenders are so worried about Steph's shooting, it creates open threes and layups for his teammates. His gravity draws multiple bodies. But normally, players demand a double team when they have the ball. Steph does it without the ball. He draws double and triple teams at all times. But Steve Kerr is smart enough to utilize that. Steph doesn't have the ball all the time, so people say he's not a point guard. No, he is the point guard of the Warriors system. They run a unique offense to maximize Steph. But you know who did have the ball all the time? Magic Johnson. In fact, when Magic didn't have the ball, he became a much less effective player. Ben Taylor's #1 knock on Magic was significantly less effective without monopolizing the basketball, meaning any other on-ball star would not fit well next to him. So who's the GOAT point guard is about one question. Who would you rather have on your team? Would you rather have Steph or Magic? Both are elite choices, by the way, but which one? Well, it depends on who the other players are. And if we're talking about an all-time starting five, you choose Steph. You want the guy who doesn't need the ball to be effective. Every starting five has Michael Jordan, LeBron James, maybe like a Larry Bird or a Kareem, but the ball is in those guys' hands a ton. So what's Magic gonna do in the half court? Not what Steph does. No one plays like him off the ball. I want the ball in Michael Jordan's hands, and LeBron James, and Larry Bird. So I would have Steph on my starting five over Magic. But the #1 point for Steph in every argument is about how he changed the game. And I know we've all heard about how he changed the game before, but the best argument I heard for Magic was by a guy named Johnny Arnett. I will link his video in the description because it is that good. But Johnny says, oh, Steph changed the game? So what? That's not unique to Steph. Everyone in the top 10 did that.
Michael Jordan made the game global. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson literally saved the NBA in the 1980s. Wilt Chamberlain changed the rulebook because of his dominance. Bill Russell won more championships than any other player in NBA history. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar uniquely dominated the league, as he introduced the most indefensible shot of all time, the skyhook. In the history of the game, no player has ever had an entire conference gearing up to stop him, like Shaquille O'Neal did in the early 2000s.
Exactly, Johnny, look, I love you, but that's not changing the game. That's just being a unicorn. Steph was the leader for how the entire NBA is played now. It's like a three-point contest every night. He changed how youth basketball is played. Every kid coming up wants to be Steph Curry. No one pretends they can be 6'8" Magic Johnson. We all wonder, gosh, why doesn't anyone do Kareem's skyhook? It's so weird, it was unstoppable. Because that's unique to Kareem. We don't have a bunch of little Kareems running around. And Shaq, literally when he retired, the game went away from how he played and evolved. That's the opposite of changing the game. But not Steph. 5 years after he comes into the league, instead of him adapting to the NBA, the entire NBA had to adapt to him. But speaking of Shaq, I'm not the only one who thinks Steph is the GOAT point guard.
You have to say he's the best point guard ever. Having a discussion with my guy Jamal Crawford, not traditional point guard, I'm like, bro, but he's listed as a point guard.
You putting him over Magic?
Yes, of course I am. Yeah, you heard it here first.
But I will bet Shaq changed his mind after the 2022 championship. People forget, Steph was the reason they won. In Game 4 against the Celtics, if Golden State loses, they're down 2-1 without home court advantage. But Steph drops 34 when if they lose, they're done. In Game 6, Boston makes a run at the end of the third quarter within 10 points. But clutch Steph had 13 in the fourth to seal the title. He proved he can do it without KD. He can be the best player on a championship team. We can talk stats all day long, but scoring is more important than assisting. I'm sorry. Plus, Steph still creates as much offense as Magic without having to rack up assists. I don't want this to be a Magic hating video. That's not it at all. Ton of respect for Magic. It's just he's been passed up. And I'm glad Steph had the guts to say it out loud. But Steph's been doubted his whole life. In his draft, the T-Wolves took 2 point guards ahead of him. One of them was Ricky Rubio, who just announced he is stepping away from basketball at 32 years old. Something really rough happened to Ricky. We may never see him again. Check it out.